What's up, guys? Casey and George back on another Tuesday with the Golden Bracket Racing YouTube channel, Facebook page. It'll be out on podcast. You know it always will be. I'm here with my buddy George. We got to thank those sponsors real quick. TSR Racing Products, Champs Performance Parts, BRG 3D Printed Parts, Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Driven Racing Oil, where you can use the code GBR10, get yourself 10% off. Don't forget you use the code GBR at Champs Performance too. Get yourself a little bit of a discount over there. And our newest partner, Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com. They got thousands of SKUs. You can choose from all kinds of stuff and make your hot rod look a little bit cooler, run a little bit better. In 2023, it's still wintertime. We might as well go straight into this because we're kind of under a time constraint here. We got Peter Biondo, presenter of the Spring Fling Bracket Racing Series, Spring Fling Vegas, Spring Fling Galat. There's another one I'm forgetting, but the one I'm not forgetting is the one we're talking about tonight, which is the Spring Fling Columbus. In 2023, they will be having an all-star race. And I'm just going to go right into this very first question, Pete, because I know we only got you here for a little bit, but it's kind of the most generic question that everybody wants to know, which is, when did you start thinking of the idea of an all-star race?
So I have to give a lot of credit. First of all, thank you for having me on, guys. Like I told you off air, you guys have a great 1-2 punch going, and just keep doing what you're doing. I love it. Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to the Rabbit, Kevin Brannon. He called me out of the blue and said, you know, Wes Buck is doing his deal with Pro Mods. You need to. There's been a lot of talk on, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, on who's the baddest racer, and a lot of arguments and discussions. And he said, you need to do something to figure that out. And so I put together, with the help of my team, the $100,000 is the best way to settle it. Put that on the line and do it by invitation only, and let's get after it.
Absolutely, man. And something that I've been noticing a lot of people have been saying is like, oh, well, this, you know, how's this going to determine the greatest of all time? Things like that. Well, the thing is you didn't name it the greatest of all time race or a GOAT race or something. You named it an all-star race. And it's the same way that, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't have Michael Jordan and LeBron James play each other in one-on-one right now to determine who's the best. Michael Jordan's, I don't know what, a lot older than LeBron. That's the point. But
right.
The fact of the matter is you named it an all-star race, which I think makes a whole lot of sense here.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and there is probably some crossover between the greatest of all time, the GOAT as you call it, and the All-Stars, the current All-Stars, and the current All-Stars are probably going to, the 12 that we picked, I have no doubt, are going to be in the conversation for a long time of being the greatest of all time. But the difference, you know, the best, you described it really well with Michael Jordan there. I would say. So let's take a guy, I'm not going to give too much away here because tonight's the big reveal, but let's take a guy like Edmund Richardson. I mean, he's the reason that people spot drop. I mean, he's an innovator and one of the baddest dudes ever. He would be on the top of the list for a GOAT race, but all-star race, you know, he's a little out of the loop now. He's all family and kids. And so not so sure he'd make the all-star race, but he would definitely make the GOAT race. That's the best way I could weigh out the difference there.
Sorry about that. As I was on mute for a second, I had to print off a page. You know, I've been running behind all day long. But one of the things I would definitely want to ask here is, how difficult was it to determine the initial top 12 drivers for the all-star race? What criteria did you follow? And then how many arguments have you been in, Pete? Because I'll tell you what, that wasn't very easy to do as a mock draft, and let alone to be in your shoes to fill the whole list.
Yeah, it was. So the first 8 were pretty easy. There was 8 that just pretty much rolled off everybody's tongue. We took my whole Fling panel. We had 6 of us, and I actually reached out to 2 guys outside of the Fling that I respect, Luke Bagacki and Justin Lamb, and got their input as well. And whoever was, we all listed 20 drivers on the Fling panel, and whoever was common in all 6 of us would be selected. And there was 8 that was common. There was 8 that was common for all of us. Actually 8 of us, 6 plus 2. So they automatically got on. The first 8, to answer your question, George, was real easy. The next two were, I'd say it was getting really tough. But when we got to the last two, that was like, I mean, I had a list of guys that I wouldn't want to park next to in the staging lanes ever. And I had to get two guys out of it. And there was probably 15 guys that I could have selected, and probably 5 or 6 that we could have said, it really came down. The last two and the last one, I just spoke to you about how that kind of went down. Yeah, it was crazy, man. I never thought it would be as hard as it was, but the last two, our conversations amongst our panel was, definitely led to some like arguments like, hey man, no way, look what this guy did. Hey, no way, man, come on, this guy was 006 times in a row here. But yeah.
And speaking of that, when you finally get down to the arguments, what criteria do you judge on as far as who you pick? Like who wins that battle? What do you really look at to decide, all right, this is the deciding factor? Is it a OG million win? Is it a